Hey, good afternoon. Bobby Cleveland, Executive Director of Oklahoma Corrections Professionals, here along with Representative J.J. Humphrey. And we're ready to get started and get moving because we don't have a lot of time, so we'll just waste any more time. J.J., there seems to be I've had so many calls this week. A lot of things going on.
It was kind of quiet there for 2 or 3 weeks. We weren't hearing a whole lot. And then, boy, when it broke, it seemed like it just, the dam broke and everything came, didn't it?
Yeah, it's, I don't know what's going on. There was a lot of people upset over this pay raise.
Oh, boy, that's been not so much over the pay raise, but over the way that they decide who gets it, big popularity contest. I've got people bringing me their last P&Ps that were all exceed, and they went from, and I'm looking at one here that has been exceed for quite some time, for long period of time, and multiple years. And then all of a sudden they just went without notice, without telling anybody, hey, they don't even meet standards. Went from exceed to don't meet standards. That's pretty, questionable.
Well, now I heard, I don't know if this is correct. So I ask you if you heard this, that the warden or the person over an individual is not the one who fills out the forms. It's done by a group of people, kind of like a popularity contest.
Well, and that's the thing, Bob, is that now they've got this whole group of people doing evaluations. And I've talked to 2 or 3 different people on it. And according to them, half the people in their group that decides for them don't even have a clue as to what they're doing, or may have animosity. Maybe their job is in conflict with this job, and it creates, and so again, when you start doing that and 6 or 7 people are going to decide that, you have just made a recipe. Let me prophesy that you just made a recipe for disaster, because you're going to have people pissed off at each other. This is going to cause conflict. When I don't get my raise, and people over here that are doing, maybe even below standards what I'm doing. What I tell you from when I was there, Bob, the people who would get scored low were people like me that did. I could verify I did way more work than everybody, because they tried to fire me 2 or 3 times and they backed up on it when I could prove, hey, I was doing as much work as the entire team.
It's my understanding that this new policy is not in policy. There's no
Bob, Bob, I went and pulled it up, and if it's in policy, I'm pretty good at looking up their policy, and I've got it sitting right here in front of me, and I can't tell that it's in policy. So again, I don't even remember what the name of this new group, collaboration or something like that. Calibration. It ain't collaboration. It's calibration, I think. And anyways, I'm looking here, and I think it is calibration. I've got the paperwork in front of me here. So I'm going to tell you something, Bob. When you're going to give a raise, the best thing, and Bob, you and I both know this, we gave a raise to all the correctional officers, and guess what? We got pushback. I had people, I'm mad. And then we tried to get those people who got left out, and I still had people mad over all of the stuff. And, the last raise we got for people, we gave 30%, and I think a little more to P&P, and then we gave the 30% to the officers. And, at the end of the day, we had people mad. And again, I understand the staff. I would love to give the staff a massive raise,
Well, this is just a stipend. This is a one-time deal, but it's a one-time deal. But, I've had guys call me and said they've never had any issues, no problems. No one's ever told they did anything wrong. Always said they're doing right. And now all of a sudden they don't, they're not getting part of the raise.
Bob, I talk to people who are department. I mean, if you cut them, they bleed department blue. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
They're just department, and they're going to do whatever. They get along with the administration. They're going to get along with whatever administration you put them in. but it doesn't mean that they're not aware of problems. And every one of them that I talk to on this is like, hey, when you put that many people over that don't know anything, you're giving them one-time raise, and you're giving this, some get 2, some get 1,500. Who's going to decide that? And again, if you're somebody they don't like, and you're somebody that speaks out against them, well, guess what? Then you're not going to. So you may be doing your job awesome, but if you speak the truth, guess what? You probably not going to get a raise. And that's the deal, boy. They don't want anybody who'll stand up and actually tell what's going on. You know,
well, I heard that they wouldn't even give you a copy of their to try to learn to do better. You couldn't even get a copy of it.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, is that they can't get. And here's the deal, Bob. When you do a PMP, I looked at one here, and they hadn't had a PMP for a solid year. And here now, they'd had one in a year. My understanding on those is that you get it, like if you get it in October, then 6 months later, you're going to get another one somewhere March or something like that. You'll get another updated one, and then when you come back a year, you'll get your full PMP. So they do it in a 6 months and a half.
They want to give a stipend, but they put issues to get the stipend. You have to do certain things, but they want to put a press release out like they've given it to everybody. And I don't know how many's even getting it. But
on their press release, they said most. Oh, that's kind of like one of them bills, Bob. When it says May, you better be careful. You know what?
Well, we had a bill that we was going to introduce to give a pay raise to the employees, and
I actually filed it, Bill. I filed it, but I don't know. I've got so many, I don't know I can carry it. I'm trying to.
I understand, but it's
But with this, I doubt that we, I don't think we'd have a chance to get that, and that may be why they filed that, is because we did file to get everybody a raise.
Well, they don't want us to get OCP to get any kind of credit or anything. But they are just adamant opposed to OCP.
Well, and again, Bob, anybody who speaks the truth, they're against, and so as we've said 1,000 times. Just like on this issue, all we're doing is repeating what we've been told. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not just repeating what I've been told, because you know how I am, Bob. I tell people, hey, I want to see your PMP. I want to see your prior PMP. I want to see all your PMPs. Hey, I'm sitting here with 2 or 3 of those in front of me, and I can guarantee you there are people who are not getting this raise, and they've had exceed. And again, I'm sitting there looking at the dates, because if I understand now, I'm going back a ways, but you were supposed to get a PMP, and then 6 months later, they're going to evaluate you again, and then you go a year, and then you get your full PMP. Now, I'm looking at one that hasn't been evaluated for a whole year, but exceeded, and now they're outside that year, so they're in violation. Wonder if they're getting raised. So they're in violation, so you're getting assessed by people who aren't doing their job. And so then they're going to turn around and tell you, oh, you went from exceed to don't meet standards. Well, then where was that information? Because that's the whole idea behind PMPs, are that you're telling them you're doing great here, you're not doing good here. It is the best tool to develop your employees that there is out there, but it ain't worth a damn if you don't use it. And if you don't use it for an entire year, it ain't worth nothing. And so,
yesterday I spent about 7 hours at Hinton, and had a real good visit. Several people stopped by, talked to me. This was vendor day, so I was out there, and I was really, I guess I would say I was very happy with what I seen that was going on. And talking to the officers, and they've turned things around there.
I'm hearing things are way better out there.
Well, when they opened it up real quick, and it was kind of chaotic. And but now I understand. From what I understand, it was changed and everything. But with that being said, it seems to me in the prisons in general and this is what I've been told as well, is the inmates seem to be running the show. They're fights. They don't break them up. There's been a lot of.
I've had 4 different institutions, people at 4 different institutions, ranging from all levels, saying that the inmates are running the show. And that I even had one say that the inmates were doing, that they were deciding who's going to sleep where bunks and that kind of thing. I don't know that.
What cell you get. Yeah, I've heard that.
What cell. And now if you, that tell me that ain't happening. I hope to goodness that ain't happening. But I do get that the inmates are running the show. And again, when you talk to people, they're just saying, hey, we're so shorthanded. And they're talking about, not being able to meet your criteria. So if you're supposed to have somebody out on the yard running patrol, or if you're supposed to have somebody in the towers, or, you've got these posts, you're supposed to have somebody x-raying stuff, watching when people come in. That should be probably a fixed post. But guess what? If you're having to pull people off fixed posts when you don't have enough people, then these things don't get done. And then you get all of this drugs. Anytime their drugs get in, then you're going to have more crime. You're going to have more violence. And Bob, I'll tell you the biggest concern for me, and I've been saying this, we've been saying this a long time, but I'm hearing more employees saying it. And I've said it. What you'll see is drugs increase. You will see inmate on inmate violence increase. You will see inmate on staff increase. And we're seeing that increase. And again, I talked to one guy at his prison. He told me they'd had probably somewhere between 21 and 28 stabbings since June, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard several prisons that. I know it seems as though we have more deaths this year than we've ever had, but I know we've had more inmate fights and more inmate and officers problems. I know that's for a fact, but it seems that the DOC has this new policy of letting the inmates run the place because they don't want any lawsuits from the inmates.
You always hear that. And again, you get sued for anything. Always remember, guys, you can be sued for anything. When you get sued, and I know when you get sued, what you want to be is right. So you can be sued for anything, but you lose the ones where you're wrong. And so the thing about it is, do what's right all the time. If you're asked to do something wrong, if there's something major wrong going on, document it, write it down if it's not in writing, and don't be a horse's butt on it. Just write it down and say, hey, this happened and I'm not responsible. And I would tell you, I would make sure that if I'm doing 5 or 6, this is what I can't believe, Bob, is that how they try to hold people accountable when they're trying to do 5 or 6, or, when the policy ops call for 3 people on a unit, and there's 1 person on the unit and something happens, now you're going to hold that 1 person accountable. We've been talking about it for a long time too. And so that's some more of the stuff that I'm hearing.
I've even heard as much as this is several times, probably 3 times. What?
Mom,
hey. Oh, hey girls. What are you doing? Hey, come here. Settle down. That even medical can't do their job because they're short staffed. That they can't take care of the inmates properly, and because of the staffing level.
Bob, I got an email the other day from a guy that'd been beat up pretty bad, and the email kind of indicated that his cellie had asked for help for him, and that he was totally ignored, and pretty much that it was going to be 2 weeks or it might be longer before he got any medical treatment. And he had a pretty severe injury, and he had the dog beat out of him. And so again,
don't say that because my DOGs are right here by me.
Yeah, I was trying to put a little fear in them so they'd calm down. They'd hear my voice and say, "Hey, cut that out." So, but anyways, Bob, yeah, I got emails. I'm getting stuff from You know, they had a big deal on DOJ came to Oklahoma City last Tuesday, and I know there was a bunch of people. I think that the DOJ was there more for the county, situation. And I believe that they got an earful on Department of Corrections. I had a lot of people there that was emailing me. In fact, I had several call me and say, "Is it okay for me to give them your name to verify all this?" And I said, "Absolutely, give them my name." You know,
there was an inmate died last week at OSP, and I think there was another one was it Dick Connors?
I think it's Crabtree.
Crabtree.
Yeah.
And,
and again, I'm just getting scuttlebutt because I don't get any kind of reports from DOC. As I said last week, I think that when you stand up in your academy, I don't think he did it from the podium, but right there in front of everybody, called me and you asses. I don't think he called us by name, but I think he said OCP. Just want to remind them I'm not an OCP member, so if you use me, I just prefer you use my name. So.
Well, it's there's just been a lot going on this week. It's hard to keep up with it. That's what's happening to me here. This morning, I've had probably maybe 4-6 phone calls of incidents and things that's going on, and one thing that's troubling is that they always try to blame it on somebody, to someone take the fall, even though that someone is probably doing 14 different things.
Bob, when I was a PO, at one time I was doing over 200 and something cases, probably upwards, and they'd say, "Oh, it's a lie," and I proved them differently, but roughly upwards towards 300. And they had people in Oklahoma City with secretaries and everything else, and they had people to close out their cases. I was doing everything, and then if something happened, so like I had one old girl that they kidnapped a girl and stripped her naked and put her in the back trunk. A big deal. Well, guess what? They tried to hang me because I hadn't done a home visit. And what's funny, Bob, I'd done it. And I could document that I'd done it because I had it in my notes, but I hadn't put it on the computer. So I'd done it. Now here I am doing 300 cases, more than anybody else. And guess what? They're going to go after you like nobody's business, hang you out to dry and that's what's going on here. And that's why you hear me speak about it, because I'm very passionate about that because it's been done to me multiple times. And if you didn't document yourself, hey, I'd been in trouble. And again, they was always looking for a way to fire me. And so,
Well, have you heard that they say a chief, warden, or somebody there in the facility are saying that no one gets exceeds. No one gets exceeds on their PMP.
Well, and
I'm just asking, have you heard that?
I have. In fact, I think the director and me had a conversation about such things way back when, if I remember, but I won't swear to it because he'll call me a liar. Then I had to call him a liar. Anyways, we'll just say maybe I had this conversation. I had it with somebody. But the thing about it is that's fine. If you want to set the bar at this level and say nobody exceeds, well, then why do you have exceeds? People do exceed. There are people who exceed, but then document what it is. Let everybody know what it is that becomes that exceptional. And I do agree, exceeds has been misused because guess what? You've had lazy supervisors just go in there and say exceeds. And nobody's probably going to exceed in every area, There's places that I will exceed in. Hey, if you're going to talk about report writing, guess what? I could probably use a little extra help in that. I write good reports, but I might need some commas, some spelling, some things like that, So, but let everybody know what the expectations are. And then where they do exceed, say, hey, you're exceeding in the way you get along with people or showing up on time, dependability, you exceed. However, getting your job done, this, you don't. and then what you're supposed to see is a plan. So, under this, what was it called, calibration or whatever it is, then where, if you're not giving your people back feedback, then it's, just walk in there and go, you're not doing a good job because we say so. Oh, by the way, you've done great for the last.
But that's not very fair to not even good.
Oh, it's true.
To introduce something that you never had before, but you introduce it after when the pay raise comes up. So you're trying to keep people from getting the pay raise.
Bob, when you do pay raises on this, you are asking for trouble. They've tried to do it in the past. Every time the governor comes out on a performance, I wish you could do performance based, but you know what? You got nepotism, you got cronyism, you got all those other isms going on. And guess what? You can't get a fair shake in the deal. And if you are a person who works your butt off, guess what? They will give you more. You want me to tell you how to get something done? Give it to the person that's doing everything. They'll get it done. And guess what? That's generally going to be the person getting the poorest evaluation because they're pissed because they make everybody else look bad. And that's generally the person that ain't going to take no crap because they know they're doing a better job and they don't have to take crap. And so again, that's what I see is that you created a deal to where you have 6 or 7 people. Somebody out of 6 or 7 ain't going to like that individual, whatever. You created a mess. And now when you give raises, give raises. Just give them. They're your employees.
Well, don't you think it's odd that you introduce this at the same time that you're going to give this pay raise?
Yeah, that's a poor. Again, that's it. Every time they give a raise, I'll guarantee you, if you want to get something screwed up, I ain't never seen a raise that we've given yet that it ought to have been a good thing. This ought to be a good thing. Give it to everybody. If you have to, don't give 2,000 to this. Give everybody a 15. If you have to, give everybody a 12. Hell, everybody be ecstatic about that. That would be a great thing. Big morale boost.
Under the conditions people are working under right now, everybody that works at a facility deserves it. Now, I don't know about how they do up there at Martin Luther King, but I know in the facility, it's a dangerous, stressful job, and it's even more dangerous, more stressful today than what it was a year ago or 2 years ago because we're so short-staffed. So, JJ, let me ask you a question. Their budget, if I recall right, their budget is based on 1,700 people, correction officers.
Well, here's the deal, Bob. Last time I talked to their director, not this director, but I sat in a meeting with the director, and he told me in front of the speaker and in front of the governor's staff that they had roughly 1,700. Now, he went 2 weeks later, and I know because they called me and I gave them the questions to ask. And he went to a Senate hearing, or some of the senators called me, not every senator, but some of the senators called me and said, what questions we ask. And I told them what questions to ask. They went into that hearing and they asked that same question. How many officers should you have? And he said 2,000 under oath. So whether it's 17, whether it's 2,000, I'll go 17 because I can go back and look, and that's about what they used to have.
Well, I just really find it unusual to introduce something new just as you're giving a stipend out to people. And but the point of it is we have been short-staffed. They expected more and more out of you, and these people have done it. These guys they're absolutely awesome. Lost you, JJ. But I work at it 24 hours. I take phone calls 24 hours a day. I get calls at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I take them because these guys are the bread and butter. These officers and the nurses, they are so important, and they work their tails off for DOC under a very stressful and dangerous job. And it's getting worse because there's so many shanks being made. I seen pictures the other day of some shanks. They did a shakedown, and they had shanks in there, this long. That was, can't have my other hand, but I'd say it's about 2.5 foot long. And I've even heard in some cases in the yards, they carry them around in the yards. So it's a pretty dangerous thing. And I think you got your CERT team out of your prison. They would go in and do the shakedowns, do this. Now they're getting people from other prisons to do it. And that doesn't seem to be working out. But, the one thing I would say, they do try different things, but they don't work. They don't change them. They just keep going because they won't admit they've made a mistake. So it's just different, and it's very difficult out there right now. To what's happening? This incident there at OSP is really a very, very dangerous situation. And there seems to be difference of opinions, different things, how we're going to handle it. It seems to be very chaotic, and there's no rhyme or reason. Because I've always thought that warden there was a good warden. She's always been fair every time I've dealt with her on anything in the past. So I don't know what's happened, what's changed now, but I know that we are very short. And when you're talking short on a job, usually we'll say it takes 20 officers. You've had 20 officers with 2,100 inmates. You had 20 officers, but now you're down to 12, 13. And that it makes it more. So you got one in the control room. That's takes that number away. You got 2 people going on medical. So then you really get down to about 9 officers responsible for 2,100 inmates. So and it's not getting any better at all. And having the academies, and I think the academy, I think it's good. Some people think it's 16 weeks is too much right now because we're too short-handed. We need to get them in and get them out, but I've had a lot of them talk about that they need to just bring that officer in, let him work for a while to see what it's like before we go invest in an academy, and then they quit. As soon as they get in there, they send them out to some prisons and they find out what it's really like and they quit. So that's one thing. And when you say, well, we got a better retention now, better than what? I mean, that's the question, better than what? Because you can't, you got less employees now, and it's going to screw your numbers up. But basically, if you're going through 60 guys out of an academy, how many are you going to have really? It's going to go forward after graduation. So you get maybe 55 graduate, and then 25 of them will stay, maybe a year, and that's changing. But I think that better academy is a good idea, and extending the hours or the weeks. I don't know what the training is going to be, what it's going to be indifferent, but I'm sure there's a whole idea behind this to make the training different so you can do this. But I'm all for anything that's going to help the officers, help the nurses, help the caseworkers. Man, I just appreciate these people so much of the pressure they work under. I don't think I'd never realized it when I was out before I started going to them and knowing more and more about what goes on inside the prison and the stressfulness. But you even have more stress now because there for a while they was firing everybody, wardens and this guy, that guy, and you had no rhyme or reason why they was doing it. So it even made it more stressful for everybody. But in the wardens, they got some good wardens, and they do care. But in some cases, they can't get things done that they want to get done because they're so short-handed. It just makes it very difficult. And another thing that they're doing, and I've heard this from 3 prisons is Oklahoma City keeps sending them more inmates, and they don't have any. They're out of beds. They don't have nowhere to put them, but they keep sending them out to them. So I don't know what's going on there if they don't keep track of it in Oklahoma City. But I've heard it from three of our bigger prisons that this is happening, and I didn't hear it once. I didn't hear it twice. I've probably heard it 10 times. So there's just a lot going on out there now in the prisons. It's just chaotic in most of them. Now, like I said, when I was out there at yesterday, they were very, very organized, and I never talked to anybody that gave me any complained about anything. They all seem to get along good, and they all respect each other. They respect the warden. And so, I mean, that helps, and that makes it better for everybody. We're going to enjoy your job, but you've got to enjoy your job. You just can't go on every day being scared. But right now, the people are scared for their life. There's been more inmate on officer and inmate on inmate fights. They got more shanks in there. We got less people checking people in, less people being there for. They're putting in some cases they're putting the maximum and the minimum into the same area on visitation. So that even makes it chance for stuff to get handed down. So it's very difficult. I'd like to, I'd be loved if they'd talk to us so we could, help out in whatever we need to do. But it's, when you're understaffed like this, you're going to get more fights. You're going to have more everything happen to you. That's all there is to it. In some cases, they have to take the person out of the control tower and put them out on a pod. Or take the person that works the door and the X-ray machines when people come in. They take people off that and put them out there, and then that makes them shorthanded in those areas. So it's just a tough deal when you don't have enough people. And then when they take your numbers away from you, saying, well, you haven't hired anybody, so you don't need that person. Well, that's not true. You're trying to get by, but everybody's doing a little more than what they should be on their job. But hand it to these guys. These guys are awesome to what they have done, going down from the warden right on down there to the clerks, what they have done and pitched in when times have been tough this past few years. And it's really been tough the past year. Been very difficult past year, and it's very difficult on the firings, but it seems like they slowed down now. They're picking back up again. But it seems like they fire somebody so they can hire one of their friends in for a job. And then that faces a lot of problems there within the prison. So it just keeps going on and on and on, and just seems to be no end to it. So, well, I'll cut it off early today. If you got any questions, give us a call. Keep sending us information, and we're looking into these PMPs and what they're doing. And we're going to, if they're not doing a good job, but I do have a question. If we're supposed to have 1,700 inmates, 1,700 officers total, and we're only got about 800, where's the rest of that money at? Where's that money going? It's pretty interesting. It needs to be looked into and evaluated. Is it going to pay higher salaries to your friends? Is that what's happening there? Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, but there needs to be someone that needs to be investigator, and maybe we'll ask the Cindy Bird or somebody to start looking into OCP, ODOC, and where their money's going and why don't they have more officers? But it's to the point that the inmates, they've got every right to bring up a lawsuit, but we are supposed to keep them safe and do everything we can to keep them safe. And we're supposed to give them a medical attention when they need medical attention. And if we can't do either one of those, we're violating their civil rights. So we've just got to do a better job and all work together. So I'll say on JJ, I don't know what happened to him, but he could talk for 3 hours, and I can't talk for that long. But I know what's going on. But I appreciate you guys, the officers, the staff, the the nursing, the medical, the job that you guys do is you're just courageous people. And I love representing you, and you deserve the best you can get. And I try hard to represent you the best I can. And I'll sign off, and I'll talk to you, see you next Friday. If you got anything, give me a call.